Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome to the video. Today we're going to get started on the SH Figuarts Shinkkchou Seihou Kamen Rider V3! So, if you know Kamen Rider 1 and 2, which I reviewed many years ago, I've been waiting for a V3, especially because I actually like the first version a lot, but in comparison, this one kind of blows it out of the water. But there are some weird technological designs that I didn't see coming from this, that I'm like, at first I was like, I don't know if I like this. But when seeing how it works, it was one of those things I was like, oh, I get it now. So hopefully I can explain that, translate that into both words and visuals for you. Then we can get started and enjoying our figure. So here we are with our double typhoon belt. We have our V3 antenna. We have our beautiful design with wired capes at the back, which look phenomenal. And then the overall design of it just looks a lot more stockier and cleaner to our design that we've been getting of people really being in suits, especially for this guy to be from the 70s and 80s, kind of running the game. So it was like after like Rider 1 and 2, you had V3, which is like supposed to be as strong as both of them. Then we had like Stronger, we had X, we had Skyrider. So there was a lot of choices. Amazon's, who was super brutal, but ended early. But yeah, here we are. And the funny thing about V3 is my first introduction to V3 was when my brother brought home a magazine that had Spider-Man and V3 in it. And he had let me know, like, Spider-Man was in Kamen Rider. And then I was like, nah, there's no way. And then I got obsessed with Karate Bugman and Spider-Man. And here's my wife being a jerk. So yeah, it's really crazy that we have a renewal of this. I'm pretty happy with it so far. So let's get to it. Let's get to it. So articulation wise, we can look up. We have the ability to slightly look down, but more so forward. And the reason why we can't look down is because that helmet front is very elongated down at the bottom, which will not allow us to just regularly look down. But we do have the articulation that will change that. Here in our arms, we can lift up. And this is what I was talking about with that weird design. We have a vertical version of what would be a butterfly joint. So it can rotate forwards and backwards as well, but also there's a joint that allows upward movement. So that means we have this open joint over here, which I'm not sure we're all seeing properly. Let me see if I can get a better view of that. So we have this open joint here, which will allow for very much that of roticulation. I like to use that word that I've made up by accident, right? We have our vertical joint here, which allows us to go up and down. But it's weird because you can't get the normal activation of a T-pose. You would have to actually hit it in reverse. And I wasn't sure why they chose that until I realized like they wanted V3 to have the design that was close enough to his original design. Even if I was like fold this down and out, it still just wasn't, it just won't look as good. And then we still have an invisible butterfly, I mean not butterfly, bicep swivel. And we have a double joint, but it's weird because the double joint doesn't fold all the way in. And that's going to be my major gripe with this, is that you're not allowing the full mobility of V3. And it's kind of a bummer because otherwise it's an excellent figure, but it really does suck that the double joint cannot really get in there. I would love for it to flex all the way in, but it cannot. And to activate our joint here, we would have to actually rotate around. So I thought it was a weird engineering design, and I'm not really feeling it because it doesn't allow for that full range of mobility. It actually gives you extra work, but otherwise it's a solid design. And I do like the vertical butterfly joint, but if this had been a single piece to tuck in, it would have been absolutely fantastic. Then we have our wired cape, which will allow for posable movement, which I do enjoy. Then we are allowed to go left and right with our ab crunch, as well as a forward ab crunch. The reverse, these are soft plastic, which allow for the best amount of movement, right? We can actually rotate left and right as well. We have our legs that can go outward. We have the forward leg movement, which is a little bit under 90 degrees, but when you lift your front skirt up, you actually get a much higher mobility. And that's soft plastic as well, so it'll allow you to just have a little bit of extra movement. As you can see here, we can actually get that 90 degrees. We have a beautiful double joint, which again, I don't know why it's not ability to do that on the arms. And I think maybe that is a flawed engineering design because the articulation is definitely there, but there's no hinge there. We have a beautiful ankle pivot. We have toe pivot. We can go backwards and forwards. So, like I said, very happy with the rest of it. Just not so much happy with that design choice of the arms, which will kill some of your movement. But when posed up, It looks absolutely fantastic. Let's actually get it in a nice pose there. And now you're ready to fight the forces of Destron with no problem. Looking really, really solid there. Like I said, in a pose, looks fantastic. Biggest issue is going to be that of those arms. Once you're over that and you realize how they work mechanic-wise, I don't think you'll have too much of an issue. With that being said, though, let's jump into accessories. Let's get to it. All right, now we're going to jump into accessories. And we got it nice and light because hopefully I can capture this tray very well. I took off the plastic armament of it, but I do want to talk about the tray by trying to hold it up. And I don't think that's going to work. So let's not do that. Let's just go little by little. So V3 on his left-hand side of his belt actually has the V3 hopper, which is a scanning device and transmitter. And it's the 70s, so this is considered high-tech for back then. But, you know, I like it. I like it a lot. It's very simplistic design. I'm glad they kept it around. Let me get some focus on this tiny parts. There we go. The V3 hopper, or the V hopper. And this is when the capsule is actually inside for the transmitter. Then there is also the sliver when you take it out that you can add to the belt when it's removed. Focus is hard on something so tiny. So hopefully, there we go. We can capture that there. Next up, we actually have the capsule itself, which I don't think I'm going to be able to get this out without knocking everything out. Oh, wait, I got it. So here we are with it. You'll see the little tiny design. I'm glad they were able to put that little design in there because I know that's tough. You'll actually also get an extra pair of antenna. So just like with Rider 1 and Rider 2, should you snap your antenna for whatever reason or take a fall, there's an extra set for you, which is, I think that's pretty nice and pretty important, knowing that no matter what they're made of, they're still very fragile and also in a very awkward position to fall. You know, you want to be able to do, you want to be able to replace that. Then you will get one of each holding hand for holding the V-hopper. And let's say I want to grab the capsule right now. Here is our hand slit for it. So you can see he can just hold it with either left or right hand. And they are going to give you ambidextrous set of hands. Then you have some technical semi-open palm hands. Now, I actually use these hands for riding the V3 Hurricane, which I'm actually going to show it right after this before I get into the size comparison. So I use those hands for that. Then you have some open pose hands. And I know you can hear the tray because I'm trying to get it all in view for you. Here we have some nice open palm hands. These can be used as action pose, the turnaround camera shot, you know, the go-to poses. Next up, you'll have the V3 poses, which I love the V3 pose hands. I actually just ended up dropping one. So here we are with the V3 pose hands, his signature pose. You can also use these as peace signs. It all depends on really what you want to do. And then you have pointing hands. Right? Now, the only thing that would top this V3 for me is if they did the Kamen Rider Spirits version, where he goes into like the Berserker Rage and he has like the sky blue suit and you can see through the chest so you can see his cyborg design. I would absolutely love that. That would be great. So, with all of that being said though, I want to keep my promise. I want to show you guys the Hurricane bike. So right before we get into size comparison, let's get to that. So here we are with the Hurricane. I've popped on those hands for V3. And now we're going to see what he looks like on the old version because they have not announced any sort of new one like they did for Rider 1 or any other riders that got renewals like double. So here we are with our old one. It's a Suzuki. It even says it on it. That's how you know it's classic branding. Like, it's like, yo, the old bike still has the Suzuki on it. And this is back when I believe they still had Tachibana running with the squad. So as you can see, the bike may be a little too big for the figure, but I actually don't mind that because it just looks really nice as a bike to stand in. But with some action poses, I think you can get it to work. But these hands don't grip it perfectly, but they grip it just enough so that he can actually hang on to the figure, as you see here. With that being said, I do think it looks great for photos, but it may not work perfect in your scaling. Either way, I do hope that there is a renewal, and if not, you can actually keep this one just fine along in your collection to go with your renewal V3. Now, on to the size comparison. Alright, now on to the size comparison. First things first, let us compare to the old V3 so we could just see just how far we have come, and I gotta say, like the reds might be a little brighter, but this guy's bigger, he's buffer, he's cooler. It's you versus the guy they tell you not to worry about. I do really love the new one. Unfortunately, the V3 kick effect does not technically work on the new one. I would have loved for that to work, but it does not. But I'm sure I could find a way to finagle that on. If I figure it out, I'll try to make a short about it. But as you can see here, along with being taller and better in articulation, just the overall look and proportion of it just looks and feels so much better. So let's remove V3. Well, old V3, I should say. Now let's compare to the likes of Rider 1 and Rider 2, which, you know, at one point he fought and was defeated by the Double Riders. So here we are with 50th anniversary Rider 1. Then we have my custom painted Rider 2 with the black helmet. Both of these are also Shinkkchou Seihou. And as you can see, these guys look really solid up with V3. Looking really, really nice. So I'm hoping I can get a really nice team shot with these three. Looking really cool. Right? So let's take these two guys away. Next up, I want to compare to a Shocker character. So here we have a Gel Shocker. And then we'll also do Rider Man. So you team up with Rider Man because they actually just announced the renewal for him. And it's going to be a little tough because all I have is the old one. So I'm really hoping proportion-wise this stacks up pretty well. Because it's going to look bad in shots otherwise. So here we are with the 2-pack with him and his bike Rider Man. This comes with the exclusive head. So as you can see, looking a little small. So it may not work out. You may have to use him as a background shot until the renewal comes out. But the Gel Shocker really does work itself out. So I like that one. Next up, we're going to compare to Toei's Japanese Spider-Man. Because like I said, these guys teamed up for a special. But it was really cool. And it had an everlasting impression on me for years with these two teaming up. So super excited to get these two together on screen for myself. Here we have a Lightning Collection Tyranno Sentry. He's the one I had out at the time, so I'm going to use him from Lightning Collection. And as you can see, Lightning Collection is way bigger. But I'm pretty sure I can find a way to finagle that in some army building stuff, right? Then we have a Swarm Sentry from Valiverse. I added a backpack on. I'm actually going to try to repaint that, do it myself, and he looks gigantic next to him, as you can see here. Next up, we will do a Mythic Legions. And I think that about rounded out. I think we already know where they stand with Marvel Legends because Joe's Legends and Lightning Collection. But I want to do it Tokusatsu heavy on this one. And here we are with Mythic Legions. So if you want to do them up like against orcs being gigantic or like anything cool, it'll look fantastic size-wise for the comparison. So it'll look really cool. Overall, super happy with V3. Little disappointed in that arm, that missing double joint because as you can see, the bottom joint is there, but it's not flexible here at the top. Almost like it's missing that joint piece. But I'll find a workaround. But that's probably the only thing I'm truly disappointed in on this. But overall, still pretty happy with the figure, especially with the cloth wires. They hold really well. Just worried because they're white. So you'll be cleaning those a lot over time, especially if you let dust get on them. So be careful. Thank you guys for watching. Welcome into the new year. So happy new year. Stay out of trouble. Try to stick to resolutions. And if you're not, that's okay too. Life is different. Life changes every day. But more importantly, guys, please be good, do good. Drink your water, guys. Later.